Every season of Survivor is a story. There are main characters, sidekicks, comic reliefs, and villains. A good season of Survivor tells a compelling story. It will grip you and have you rooting for someone and against someone else. You will want to tune in episode after episode to see what happens next until it all finishes with a hopefully satisfying conclusion. Each short story that we look at together will go through one character's journey from beginning to end, from the time that they are introduced until they inevitably get their torch snuffed or win the game. We will look at every major character moment and strategic move to determine whether they were a hero or a villain and whether they were a good or bad strategist. And with that, welcome to Once Upon an Island. For reference, we will only be observing what the TV show is showing us and what story is being told through the show. No future seasons will be mentioned, as the story and characters here have no idea and therefore are unaffected by those future seasons. All character moments and strategic moves are interpreted with the mindset of what the story is trying to tell us. And with that, I want to thank you all for supporting this channel. Subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing are crucial to this channel's growth and making all of this possible. If you want to do more to help make this channel an all-star, then consider supporting us on Patreon. You get every video weeks before they ever see the light of day here on YouTube, and you get to vote for which survivors I tell the stories of, like this one, and of course even get an exclusive Patreon only video each month. Thank you for your support.
39 days, 18 All-Stars, 1 Survivor.
Shii, the Shii Devil, and the only castaway to return from Survivor Thailand, was a castaway on Survivor's 8th season, Survivor All-Stars. Last time, she had a feud with Rob with 2 Bs, and it was an infamous train wreck that brought the best and worst out of her. She fell victim to the fake merge of Thailand and basically played herself out of that game from simply not paying attention. So can she improve? Can she calm her emotions down and pay better attention this time in order to make it far or possibly win it all? Let's find out. What is important to know about Survivor All-Stars is how the tribes are separated. For the first time ever, there are 3 tribes of 6. The Mogo Mogo and Saboga tribe each have 2 former winners, and Chapera has none. The Mogo Mogo tribe consists of Lex Vandenberg, Jenna Maraska, Richard Hatch, Kathy Vavrick O'Brien, Colby Donaldson, and Xian Wang. Now this tribe is fairly stacked on paper, and unlike in past seasons though, there is no marooning by Jeff this season. The players get dropped off at their beach with a machete and a map to the water well, and that's it. No instructions and meager supplies at best. As soon as everyone arrives on the beach, almost immediately the men and women of Mogo Mogo split up, and Xian is talking to Kathy about an all-women's alliance, which Kathy is receptive to, but Richard Hatch does catch them talking about it.
Let's talk about that, since I was sitting in the woods kind of listening to the girl power.
There is too much girl power.
Lex is working hard on building their new camp. In fact, it is basically all you see him focus on in this episode. However, at one point, he is working hard while Xian and Richard Hatch just sit there and watch him work. Xian apologizes, and Hatch makes a remark to show that he doesn't really care at all, kind of making fun of Xian. Xian correctly assesses that he's just being obnoxious on purpose, and it's all part of his strategy.
Richard is totally obnoxious. It's just part of his strategy to kind of be like a little bit shocking, like I don't really care what happens.
If I'm playing that one by ear, they could think I'm just cocky and arrogant and think I could last the whole game. Imagine that.
After that, Lex is trashing on Hatch, saying that he only won his first season because no one else even knew what the game was about yet, and it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Xian says he is the king, and what fun would it be to vote out the king first?
He is the king.
He was the king when he was playing with a bunch of sheep.
That's true.
That was like shooting fish in a barrel.
I personally think, what fun would it be if the king left the first day? Wouldn't be any fun.
At the immunity challenge, Mogo Mogo wins, and they are safe. Now in this premiere episode, we didn't get a whole lot of Shii. So far, she seems to be acting the same as in Thailand, except she doesn't have a designated target to make fun of like she did in Rob with 2 Bs. As of now, she seems to not be a target in anyone's mind and is in good with the girls on her tribe. However, her overall role in the season isn't super clear to us, so we shall see what this means for her overall narrative, and even if there is going to be an overall narrative for her. We move on to episode 2, and no tribe has fire yet, not even Saboga, who went to tribal council, and everyone's water source is a well filled with parasites. So they have to boil the water for it to be safe, but they can't boil anything because they don't have fire. So when it finally rains, it is a godsend, as this is fresh water falling right into their laps, which Shii loves.
Never thought I'd be so happy to see tropical rain. We were like animals gone wild. I mean, we had to have water. That water was so sweet.
However, Survivor production must have been feeling bad because they had all of the tribes play out a reward challenge to win some lousy blankets, and Saboga does win, and Jeff offers them, hey, instead of those lousy blankets, what about this pot and flint? However, if you get the pot and flint, everyone gets the pot and flint, and Saboga agrees.
Give everybody flint.
Oh, we did.
Mogo Mogo wins immunity once again, so we move on to episode 3, where Richard Hatch catches a shark that first bites him, and so he bites it back and kills it. Mogo Mogo is just blown away, and Shii just loves all of this.
Impressive. He was very impressive. I mean, he may not be impressive downstairs, but he's very impressive in other ways.
Each tribe then receives tree mail from the Home Depot, and it is time for a shelter building challenge. Essentially, whoever makes the best shelter in a 24-hour period wins reward. However, Shii is part of the team, and she has a lot of ideas to offer to Lex and Colby, but they don't seem very receptive. She offers things like a coconut phone and a dumbwaiter, which doesn't interest the guys at all, and Shii is hurt that it seems like they weren't even listening to her, which truly shows how much they value her.
It was as if when we spoke, they couldn't hear it. They had like their transmitters tuned to each other only.
Mogo Mogo ends up getting second place in the challenge, but even more importantly is how Jenna Maraska has been moping around at camp. At the immunity challenge, she makes the call and quits.
I need to pull myself out of the game and be there.
As it turns out, she thinks her mom is getting worse and worse, and she ends up being right, as her mom does quickly pass away not too long after she leaves the island. For the time being, Shii is relegated to the background, as we don't see anything important from her at all in episode 4, but Mogo Mogo does win immunity.
Hold on, we're good. Yeah! Mogo Mogo wins immunity! Yeah!
With episode 5, the reward challenge brings with it a twist. Whichever tribe loses will get drafted into the other 2 tribes. Saboga ends up losing, and Mogo Mogo drafts Ethan, Zahn, and Jerry Manthe with the intent of voting out Ethan first.
Mogo Mogo, who's your first pick?
Ethan.
Ethan, come on over. Mogo Mogo, make your next pick.
Jerry.
Come on over.
Come on, Jerry.
Jerry and Colby reunited.
However, now with Saboga completely gone, Mogo Mogo can't slide by getting second place in every challenge and being safe. Now when they do that, they lose, which is exactly what happens when Mogo Mogo loses immunity, and Shii says this game is now officially on for the first time ever.
I really like our tribe, and now we have to go to tribal. So the game is on. For the first time at Mogo Mogo, the game is really on.
Then, out of seemingly nowhere, for Shii at least, Lex tells Kathy and Shii that Colby called his shot and Richard Hatch is going home over Ethan. Shii points out that Colby is clearly in charge of this tribe since he's just saying something and everyone's just doing it.
I think we just need to really watch Colby with that because he's calling the shots.
He's very
Okay.
powerful.
All right. Good.
Shii tells Kathy that this move is a mistake and she's right. Getting rid of Jerry or Colby would probably be best for her game, and getting rid of Shii would probably be best for everyone else's game. However, Hatch isn't going to hurt her game either, so there we go.
Lex is coming up to me and Kathy and telling us it's Richard. Richard Hatch. It's a mistake. I think That's a mistake.
It is clear as day that this is actually Kathy's call, as seen right before Tribal Council. She is basically controlling Shii and Jerry, and we even see this at the start of episode 6.
We grabbed our torches, and I looked at Kathy and I said, "Who are we voting for?" And she said, "Hatch."
Richard Hatch is then voted out unanimously.
Rich, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 6 begins, and Shii points out that truly, Kathy is the power figure right now in the tribe. Colby is the perceived power figure, but no, it's actually Kathy who's doing all the work behind the scenes, as she controls quite a few people.
Kathy's the biggest power player of all. She's got all of us wrapped around her fingers. If nobody's noticing that, she's one darn good player.
We then finally hear from Shii what her strategy is this season, and it is to simply lay low and fly under the radar. Now, Colby did allude to this in the previous tribal council, so she talks to him about it, because the way he was talking about it was like, well, some people around here are just flying under the radar and taking it easy.
Everyone knows how to play this game, and so you cannot coast. Although a lot of people are doing it.
And he says how, hey, you're just playing an easy game. It's an easy way to play, and he has no respect for her game. Basically, he's mad that he has to do the leadership legwork, which he doesn't have to, but has chosen to. Shii gets tired of hearing his lecture like he is a disappointed father, and now this is the classic Shii we know and love from Thailand, even if it means the perceived leader doesn't like her, and she's being a jerk in a confessional.
It's very easy to sit in the tent, wait until an hour before tribal council for someone to walk in and tell you who we're voting for.
Blah, 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 blah. Lecture, lecture, lecture.
It's an easy game to make it a long way. I don't have any respect for that.
Oh, I'm sorry, you done?
Jerry Manthe then brings back a classic hit from her first time playing, where she incessantly talks about food they can't have and creates a grocery list. This annoys Kathy and Shii.
Milk chocolate chips, peanut butter chips, marshmallow cream, graham crackers with cinnamon, peanut butter chocolate chips.
However, Shii is concerned about the food situation they are in and desperately cries out for Richard Hatch to just come back and help us.
I don't like the fact that our main food provider got voted out. Oh, Richard Hatch, I miss you already. Where is the fish?
At the reward challenge, Sue Hawk quits in a dramatic fashion. For all the details, watch the story of Richard Hatch. But to make a detailed story short, in the last episode, Richard got naked as usual and ran into Sue on purpose, which at first she didn't think much of, but overnight she mentally collapses and feels violated by Hatch, which causes her to quit the game, and Shii sympathizes with her.
I'm so sorry, Sue. I'm so sorry. I didn't see him. I'm so sorry.
Episode 7 opens up with more classic Jerry, which leads us to some classic Shii. Jerry wakes up and immediately starts complaining about how much it sucks to sleep on the bamboo, so Shii complains about Jerry's complaining.
Everything's going on in her brain because it's coming out of her mouth.
I couldn't sleep last night on the rack. It was really painful. Hello, we all slept on the rack last night.
Later on in the episode, the feud intensifies as Jerry snaps on Shii, so Shii snaps back and is being a flat-out jerk.
I don't want any of the rotten stuff, so.
Okay, well, I don't really care. I'm just trying to make sure people get what they want. Jerry is just rubbing me the wrong way.
Colby says maybe they should just fight and get it over with, followed up by telling us that in his mind, Jerry and Shii are equal to him, which is pretty bad considering how much he doesn't like Jerry.
Shii annoys me as much, if not more, than Jerry does. So if it came down to tolerance or personal irritation, I'd have a tough time deciding.
Mogo Mogo loses immunity and Lex wants Colby gone now, which is a surprise, mostly because he anticipates a merge right around the bend and he thinks Colby will just clean sweep the individual immunity challenges. Shii would rather have Jerry gone, but since her game plan is to stay under the radar, she isn't going to try and change minds since it isn't like Colby is aligned with her anyways. At Tribal Council, Jeff asks Shii who is the weakest member of this tribe, and she says, well, herself and Jerry are physically the weakest, which is obvious to anyone looking at the tribe, but Jerry doesn't like this and the feud continues.
Probably be me or Jerry. We're physically possibly the weakest tribe members here. I'm sorry, Jerry, to speak for you, but physically I think
don't.
When Shii goes to vote, they hide who she is voting for, but it's for Colby. What is funny is what she says when she votes for him.
You have underestimated my powers.
I am I'm not sure why, but the line made me think this would be something that like a Sith would say in a Star Wars movie. Anyways, Colby does go home with only Ethan voting with him.
Colby, tribe has spoken.
Episode 8 brings with it a reward challenge that ultimately Mogo Mogo loses yet again, but not at all due to Shii. In fact, she wins both of her rounds pretty easily against Alicia.
Here you go. Alicia's in first. Shii scores 1. Alicia first. Shii scores for Mogo Mogo. We're tied 3-3.
Mogo Mogo then also loses immunity, and Lex informs Shii that Ethan is next to go, and while it is great that Shii isn't being targeted, these decisions to knock out all the big targets is not an ideal move for their alliance as a whole. And pretty easily, Ethan is voted out, leaving Mogo Mogo with only 4 members remaining.
Ethan, tribe has spoken.
Have fun, play hard, don't let the bed bugs bite.
Episode 9 is a recap episode, so we move on to episode 10 where the tribes swap. Well, more accurately, the tribes change beaches with the exception of Amber, who stays on Chapera, while everyone else just pretty much changes buff colors.
Shii, Shapira, it continues.
It doesn't make a difference for their fortunes though, as they lose immunity yet again, making Amber the obvious target. But as they leave the challenge, Boston Rob cuts a deal with Lex to save Amber.
If you can.
Back at camp, Shii says Amber should go next and Boston Rob won't last too long, which is absolutely the right decision to make, and it probably would be a big hit to Boston Rob, but because it would hurt him, Kathy and Lex want to exploit him for the favor they assume he will owe them, so they decide to vote out Jerry instead, which is absolutely the wrong decision, but she is voted out.
Jerry, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 11 brings with it day 26 and the long-awaited merge. That's right, 2/3 of the way through the game, and it finally happens.
Drop your buffs.
Here we go.
Here we go again. This time the buff. Yes! It is the merge color.
Though a lot happens this episode, Shii is largely relegated to the background as, surprise, Boston Rob does Lex and Kathy no favors for saving Amber and voting out Jerry, and tells Lex to his face that you're next to go. At Tribal Council, Lex is voted out, and even Shii votes for him, though we have no idea why, though it doesn't really matter as Lex was going to go home anyways. The numbers were not in his favor.
Lex, tribe has spoken.
Now, with only Kathy and Shii remaining from the original Mogo Mogo, they are in dire straits. Episode 12 brings with it a combined reward immunity challenge where Boston Rob wins. And instead of watching his video from home from his brother, he trades it with Jeff Probst to give everyone their letters from home instead, which everyone does indeed love. Shii correctly assesses though that this is a game move above all else.
What Rob did today at the reward challenge was a generous move, but it was also a strategic move.
Since Kathy and Shii are both eligible to be voted out, they both get to work on trying to flip the votes to instead target Amber. But while people listen, it is clear that actually no one wants to do anything at all to change things up.
There might be something that can be done.
Right.
It would make sense.
Oh yeah, it would. I've had alliance with Rob and Amber the whole time.
Shii then tells us that she may be in the minority and all hope may seem to be lost, but it doesn't matter as she is not going down without a fight, really locking in her underdog status, and I feel like we finally have a direction for her story, and it only took 12 episodes to get to it.
You know, being one of 2 remaining last original Mogo Mogo members, I'm in the minority. You know, it's not the end for me yet. I may still win immunity. I'm a survivor, I'm here to win, and I will not go down without a fight.
Kathy is voted out, and now Shii is the last remaining Mogo Mogo member.
Kathy, the tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go.
Episode 13 begins, and Shii says that last night was emotional and tough. Kathy was her last remaining friend in the game, and Boston Rob even emphasized this to his alliance when he tells them that their entire goal is to get Shii out next, win immunity, make sure she's not safe, and get her out of here.
Just collectively as a group, we're gonna make sure she don't win immunity.
Hell yeah, that's the whole goal. That's it.
Shii then talks to Boss and Rob and asks straight up, hey, is your game plan just to stick with your alliance, or are you like willing to make a move? And he says, no, I'm not willing to make a move. I'm just gonna stick with my alliance.
Are you gonna keep with your original 6, or are you gonna be willing to look at other possibilities?
Like, honestly, I'm gonna stay with my plan.
At the reward challenge, the castaways are quizzed based on quizzes they had all filled out, and now they're trying to figure out what the consensus answer was for these questions. And one of those questions is, who is least deserving of being called an all-star? Shii and Alicia are actually tied as the answers for that question, and unlike Alicia, who takes this very personally and gets super annoyed pretty much all episode, Shii takes it with a big old shrug like, yeah, I already know and I don't care.
Who does not deserve to be an all-star? It was a tie, Shii.
Surprise.
Since my own tribe mates think I don't deserve to be here, Rob.
Rupert wins the reward challenge and is put into a predicament to pick what food everyone gets. How this works is there is a wide variety of food ranging from a nice steak dinner with unlimited beer all the way down to rice and water from camp. Shii predictably gets shafted and is given the rice and water from camp. However, she won't stop talking about it, and it really annoys Jenna Lewis.
Shii's an absolutely obnoxious person. The whole time she's like, this rice is good. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that steak. I just want to watch you eat it.
After the reward challenge, Shii talks to Rupert about flipping on Rob, and Rupert listens and even acknowledges that, yeah, he knows he's in the bottom of his 4-person alliance, but he doesn't seem to care enough to make a move.
You gotta be looking at Rob. I would be if I were you.
Oh my gosh.
If I were anyone.
They're telling me they'll take me to the Final Four too, but I know I'll be 4th. Unless I win immunity.
Shii then tries to respectfully talk to Alicia about flipping a Rob, but Alicia immediately shuts her down, which Shii does take in stride, but clearly this alliance is like concrete that Shii is trying to stab with a stick.
Yeah, we should talk, actually. I got some news.
I don't want to even hear it.
That's fine.
There's a plan, Shan, and it's too late for anything to change.
Okay.
At the immunity challenge, Shii knows it is win or go home, and as most players fall, it comes down to her, Rupert, and Boss and Rob. She says she's going numb, but that's less important than winning this immunity challenge.
1 hour in, you have not moved. Your body has not moved, your arm is not dipped.
I'm not moving. It's numb. But I need this immunity, like I said, Jeff.
Boss and Rob ends up dropping as he tries biting a fly off of his arm, and then after quite a long time, Rupert finally drops and Shii wins immunity.
Out of the competition. Shii!
Alicia takes offense at Shii getting excited, but who cares after she was just a jerk to her before the challenge.
I love you guys, but I needed this more than all of you guys.
Yeah, don't get too sassy though. You gotta
I
live with
needed it.
Back at camp, she talks to Amber and it finally clicks. Amber is actually playing the best game out here. She hides it so well, but really, Amber is running this game.
She's so sweet. You hate to hate her because she's so lovely and she's got those beautiful green eyes. But you know what? She's one of the shrewdest players out here.
Shii then tells us that finally the Alliance has to eat one of their own, and they're so stupid. They're just a bunch of stupid players who don't want to make a move.
I'm feeling a whole lot better now that these proud little Shaboga Mogos are gonna have to eat one of their own. Should have been cutting deals with me before my immunity went. Stupid people.
Stupid people. Let me just say that again. Stupid players.
At Tribal Council, Alicia is voted out unanimously.
Alicia, the tribe has spoken.
While Shii won the battle here, she has a ways to go to win the whole game. A long ways to go. It is now episode 14, and let's recall that back in the day before the merge, Shii really didn't care at all for Jerry, and Jerry didn't really care at all for her. Well, Jerry's gone, and she's been gone for a while, and Shii has a new rival, Jenna Lewis, who Shii does not have kind words to say about.
I'm not having plantains today. You wanted me cooking for yourself. I'm not eating.
I'm just really tired of Jenna. Girl's a bitch.
She then tells us something she said back in episode 1 of Thailand, really bringing this whole thing full circle. She is the Shii Devil, and don't count her out just yet. She does have some tricks up her sleeve. What are those tricks? We have no idea. And in fact, I'm pretty sure she has 0 tricks, but it sounds cool to say.
I wouldn't count me out yet because Shii Devil has some tricks up her sleeves and I'll be applying them.
At the reward challenge, it is time for the loved one's visit, and the Shii Devil breaks down when she sees her mom. it is actually up to the loved ones to win the challenge, and her mom loses, and even worse, at the immunity challenge, Shii is in it to the point where it is only her and Big Tom who remain, but ultimately Big Tom pulls out the win.
That's it! Yeah! Big Tom wins immunity!
Shii then goes on a tour to try and get out her rival Jenna Lewis. She talks to Big Tom about getting rid of Jenna, and he says he wants her gone, but he won't actually do anything about it, constantly making excuses. She then talks to Rupert as well. He's non-committal to the deal, which makes sense since Jenna Lewis is his number 2. And then she talks to Amber, who is non-committal as well, and then she talks to Boston Rob, and he's pretty much the only person who's straight up with her and says, no, you really can't say she didn't try, but it's a little too late, and no one was going to move anyways. Jenna can't stand Shii scrambling so much so that she wishes she could kill herself instead.
Shien's a scrambler. I can't even deal with her. I'm very, very annoyed with her. Let's put it that way. She opens her mouth and I feel like putting a gun in mine.
At Tribal Council, Shii continues to lay the target on Jenna Lewis by saying all of the paranoia at camp, which happened earlier between Jenna and Rupert, was all because of Jenna and is always because of Jenna, which Shii is right about, and no one does as much work as Rupert.
This paranoia about the food is mostly caused by one person pointing it out, and that person would be Jenna. Jenna, stop monitoring what everyone is eating. And if Rupert catches 20 fish and he wants to eat them all, let him. No one else here catches as many fish or does as much work as Rupert.
Shii is voted out unanimously, but on her way out the door, she votes for Amber as a message that she is the only one playing the best game there.
Shii,
Tribe spoken.
Good luck, everyone.
So let's break this down. How was Shii as a character? The Shii Devil was back, but this time she didn't have an arch nemesis like she did on Thailand, so her classic behavior of making fun of someone or making someone into an enemy was in short spurts, and we only saw it here and there, and it wasn't like a season-long feud. She has small feuds with Jerry and Jenna Lewis, but this is all very small in comparison to the feud she had with Rob with 2Bs in Thailand. However, she was a lot nicer here in this season to people in person at least, and still saved her most biting criticisms for when she was in confessional. She truly was more of the same as to what we saw on Thailand, though she carried herself with more confidence this time and clearly knew her value, and everyone voted her as least deserving all-star with Alicia, and she just shrugged it off. It was a more mature Shii Devil, but the Shii Devil nonetheless. Out of 22 character moments shown on the show, 12 were heroic and 10 were villainous, making Shii a hero on Survivor All-Stars. Now, how is Shii as a strategist? Her strategy was to remain under the radar and slide as long as possible, and it worked, up through Kathy going home. She was never the target and performed the best out of her original tribe. However, the people she trusted to make the decisions for her strategy really killed her game, as Lex and Kathy kept voting out threats and setting up Mogo Mogo to easily be decimated come the merge. Shii didn't really do much to derail their plan and really kicked her game into gear once Lex was voted out. But by then, everyone left was simply unwilling to make moves. It reminded me a lot of watching the post-merge game of the Australian Outback or Africa. She did her best with her strategy, but was just on the wrong side of the numbers. Out of 30 strategic moments shown on the show, 18 were smart and 12 were dumb, making Shii a smart strategist on Survivor All-Stars. Thanks for watching, and if you like the content you see here, then please support me and this channel on Patreon. Your financial support makes this all possible, so thank you, and thank you for watching.